Hi, this is Kaous Games. Today, what I want to talk about is my experience with Persona 5. I just completed my first playthrough the other night, and just wanted to give my thoughts on the game. First and foremost, it's definitely a long one. I mean, even if you play extended sessions for a while, I mean, you're going to get over 100 hours in that first playthrough, easy. I know I did. Now, with that said, usually Persona games I've played have been pretty long and involved, which I actually enjoy. Sometimes you play games and you're just like, oh my god, when is this game gonna end? When it's gonna be over? But Persona to me has always been an experience where you just want more. In fact, I don't feel like it was long enough. And mainly that's because Personas historically have a high time management crunches. There's a lot you want to do, but there's a sense of urgency in there that you just don't have the time to do everything you want. So it makes the experience, even though you're playing for 100 hours in a playthrough, you just don't feel like you've accomplished everything. And that's a special type of game. I say Persona 5. Persona has always generally been known to, even Persona 4 was the most lighthearted of them, but I would say that Persona generally has a more serious story. But I feel like they really hit home with this one. Like, this one's like huge social commentary, a lot of metaphor in this one, and the story was really engaging. More so engaging than the other two I played. I've only played Persona 3 and 4 up to this point. So it had the most engaging and meaningful story to overall society, I'd say. It makes a commentary on the dynamic between freedom and security. There's actually a song on the soundtrack called Freedom and Security, and that's a big thing. It's like, what do you want? You can't have both, or can you have a balance between them? It's a very fine line, and they just try to really touch on that. I feel like this one is making a bigger statement than the other Personas I've played, and that's why this one slightly tops it. Even though they're all have been great experiences, I would say Persona 3 had the most impactful ending, and Persona 4 was very heartwarming too. But this one had my overall favorite story, I feel like, and the overall favorite cast. I would say they have a mascot character in this game. They didn't have a mascot. Well, I guess they did. Komaru was a mascot character, the dog in 3. But I would say the mascot character in this game, Morgana, the cat, is a lot more awesome than Teddy was in Persona 4. It was more this comic relief and this goofy. Morgana is actually very, very resourceful, very, very sharp and useful, and I really feel like he was the best mascot character out of the the 3 mascot characters I've seen in the Persona series that I played. So, yeah. So the cast itself overall was a little bit better than the other ones I played. I feel like I do definitely feel some influences from other Shin Megami Tensei games. To a lot of people who haven't played other Shin Megami Tensei games, they're going to seem like new elements, but they're not. The whole negotiation system ripped directly from Nocturne from 2004. In that game, for those who don't know, what would happen is that the unlike Persona and Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the demons would be your party members, or your potential party members. You could be out in the wild, and just like in Persona 5, you can negotiate with them to try to get them on your side. The only thing is, they don't become a persona inside your one character. They become your party members, and you can switch them out and what have you, and get them new skills, level them up. Same deal, right? So that whole element is not new to me. I've seen it before, years ago. So There's that, which I didn't mind it coming back. Either that or Shuffle Time, it really made no difference to me. Same purpose. This oftentimes a little bit more efficient because you get to negotiate for money and items sometimes too. So I think I like this a little bit more than Shuffle Time. I always like that dynamic, in Nocturne as well, a little bit more than Shuffle Time. I feel like the whole costume thing was pulled from an unlikely source that a lot of people who don't have a Wii U wouldn't have played. But when Shin Megami Tensei did a crossover with Fire Emblem, they made that game Tokyo Mirage, and the whole costume layout and everything, where the concept where you go into that other world, your costume comes on. You develop a costume that was felt like that was pulled from Tokyo Mirage Sessions for real, and I like it. I like the costumes. I like the theme behind them. They're not just costumes for costume's sakes. They're the embodiment of the Persona users' rebellion in their hearts. I like the meaning behind it, and I like the cast of this. They all have a chip on their shoulders for some reason, and that really makes it them a little bit more engaging and relatable to me. Like I said, the game's combat system is not too much different than anything else. If it's not broke, don't fix it. They did add some new elements, like nuclear and psi attacks and gun damage, which I thought was pretty cool for certain unique tactics against basic enemies. To be honest, most bosses in this game, strategy just kind of goes out the window most of the time. You can't crit them and knock them down, so in most cases, so it's pointless to think about it in that way. At least I couldn't crit them and knock them down that much, to be honest with you. If that only happened in special occasions when the game intended to happen. So I feel like, a lot of the strategy you would end up trying to use on basic enemies to weaken them and get those all-out attacks off on them is kind of pointless in the major bosses of the game. So yeah, so there was that. Of course, this game is a masterpiece to me. I feel like if you've played any other Personas, especially 4, and you like 4, this one's going to be a better experience for you. Even though it was a very hard game to top, but Persona 5 did it, and I really feel like this game is definitely a must-have if you're a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 owner. And you're a fan of JRPGs, because it's definitely I feel like JRPGs have been making a pretty hard resurgence here recently, and that's something that makes me happy, because I grew up on JRPGs, and I don't want to see it that craft go away. I'm glad to see that it's strengthening itself again, and I'm definitely happy about this game. Oh, another thing that was pulled from Tokyo Mirage was the cell phone chat logs. Even though it's not as advanced as it would be on the Wii U, because when you had the chat logs on the Wii U, it would show up on the pad, not on the TV. So it'd be like you're actually trying to open your phone and stuff. So you open your phone here, and then you have little chat log sessions and stuff with people, and so that's pulled directly from there too. If you have a Wii U, I would say Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a very good game to play. That's an aside, though. So yeah, there's a lot of elements pulled from all different Shin Megami Tensei games in this. Of course, other Personas. In this game, you have a mixture. Even the Persona 4 had the thematic layouts of the dungeons based off of whose TV world you were entering at the time, and that has carried over into this one with the palaces. Basically, the certain individual bosses you deal with, the big bosses in the game, they all have a thematic area that's dedicated to them called palaces. But then they kind of pull from Persona 3, a place called Mementos, which is basically just like Tartarus was. Basically, just a big tower that has floors. You go in them, and then you get to a certain point, you can't cross them. And then as the story goes on, you can penetrate deeper into it. There are special assignments that you can get. They don't really, certain assignments you can take to as basic little side quests, aside from your standard high school sim stuff that you can do in any Persona game that I've played. But yeah, it's definitely worth picking up. It's definitely worth its high acclaim. I'd say, I remember I had said something about how, Breath of the Wild was a little bit overrated, in my opinion. This is definitely perfectly rated the way it is. That 94 on Metacritic is definitely an accurate assessment for me. Now, I'll say that the main protagonist is a little bit more vocal than usual, actually, in this. He actually does talk in cutscenes and stuff sometimes. He actually has a bit of a personality. And I was like, he's a perfect dynamic. Like in his normal life, they make a point to say he's calm and he's composed and he's hard to read. But when he puts on that mask, he becomes the Joker. Like, he is a badass. Like, he's probably the most badass protagonist in the ones I've played. I really enjoyed this game. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, this has been Kaous for Kaous Games. So next time, Gamers Game On.